fear. It's a word that often makes us shrink back, hesitate, or even run away. But what if I told you that fear could be the very thing that propels you forward? That the butterflies in your stomach, the racing of your heart, and the doubts swirling in your mind are not obstacles, but opportunities. Yes, my friends, being scared can be the catalyst that ignites your greatest potential. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you felt truly scared? Maybe it was before a big presentation, or when you were about to ask someone out on a date, or perhaps when you were considering a major career change. In those moments, your body was alive with energy, your senses heightened, your mind razor sharp. That's not weakness. That's power waiting to be harnessed. You see, fear is nothing more than energy. It's the body's way of preparing you for action, of letting you know that something important is at stake. And when you learn to channel that energy, to use it as fuel rather than let it paralyze you, that's when magic happens. I want you to consider the possibility that every time you feel scared, it's actually life nudging you towards growth. It's your inner wisdom telling you, hey, pay attention. There's something valuable here for you to learn. When we avoid what scares us, we miss out on the very experiences that could transform our lives. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Facing our fears takes courage, and courage is like a muscle. It grows stronger with use. But here's the beautiful thing. Every time you take action despite your fear, you're not just accomplishing a task, you're expanding your sense of what's possible. You're rewriting the story of who you are and what you're capable of. Let me share a personal story with you. Years ago, I was terrified of public speaking. The thought of standing in front of a crowd made my palms sweat and my mind go blank. But I knew deep down that I had a message to share, that I could help people if only I could find the courage to speak up. So I made a decision. Instead of running from my fear, I would use it as a signpost, pointing me towards what I needed to do next. I started small, speaking to tiny groups, my voice shaking and my knees wobbling. But with each experience, something remarkable happened. The fear didn't disappear, but it changed. It became less of a wall and more of a wind at my back, pushing me to prepare more thoroughly, to connect more authentically with my audience, to dig deeper into the well of wisdom within me. And you know what? Those moments of facing my fear became the foundation of my life's work. If I had let fear hold me back, I wouldn't be here today, sharing these words with you. That's the power of using fear as a catalyst for growth. Now let's talk about why being scared is such a powerful force for personal development. When we're comfortable, when everything is easy and familiar, we tend to coast. We don't push ourselves. We don't question our assumptions. We don't stretch beyond our current capabilities. But discomfort, that's where the real growth happens. Think of it like working out. If you always lift the same light weights, your muscles won't grow stronger. It's when you challenge yourself, when you push to the point where your muscles start to burn. That's when change occurs. Fear works the same way. It's a signal that you're pushing beyond your comfort zone, that you're entering territory where real change is possible. But here's the key. You have to reframe how you think about fear. Instead of seeing it as a warning to stop, see it as an invitation to grow. When you feel that flutter of nervousness, instead of thinking, oh no, I can't do this, try saying to yourself, this is exciting. I'm about to learn something new about myself. This shift in perspective can be transformative. It turns fear from an enemy into an ally, from a roadblock into a springboard. And the more you practice this reframing, the more natural you'll start to seek out challenges rather than avoid them, knowing that each scary situation is an opportunity for growth. I'm not advocating recklessness. There's a difference between healthy fear that pushes you to grow and genuine danger that should be avoided. The key is to distinguish between the two. Is this fear protecting me from real harm, or is it just trying to keep me in my comfort zone? If it's the latter, that's your cue to lean in, to embrace the discomfort, knowing that on the other side lies growth. Let's talk about some practical ways you can start using fear as a catalyst in your own life. First, start paying attention to your fears. What situations make you nervous? What dreams have you been putting off because they seem too scary? Make a list. This is your personal roadmap for growth. Next, choose one small fear to confront. Remember, we're building the courage muscle. So start with something challenging but not overwhelming. Maybe it's striking up a conversation with a stranger or trying a new hobby you've always been interested in but felt too self-conscious to attempt. Whatever it is, commit to facing it. As you approach the scary situation, notice the physical sensations in your body, the quickened heartbeat, the butterflies in your stomach. These are signs that you're alive, that you're growing. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, this energy is here to help me, not harm me. Then, take action. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, probably won't be. But that's not the point. The point is that you're doing it. You're moving forward despite your fear. And here's a secret. Action is the antidote to fear. The moment you start moving, you'll find that the fear begins to dissipate, replaced by a sense of empowerment. After you face your fear, take some time to reflect. How did it feel? What did you learn about yourself? Celebrate your courage, no matter how small the step might seem. Every time you act in the face of fear, you're reinforcing the belief that you are capable of handling challenges. As you practice this approach, you'll start to notice something remarkable. The things that once terrified you will begin to excite you. You'll find yourself seeking out new challenges, eager to see what you can learn, how you can grow. This is the mindset of constant personal evolution, and it's one of the most powerful forces for positive change in your life. Now, I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking, but Wayne, I've tried to face my fears before and it didn't work out. I failed. To that I say, wonderful! Failure is not the opposite of success. Every time you fail, you're gathering valuable information about what works and what doesn't. You're building resilience, developing problem-solving skills, and yes, growing stronger. In fact, I'd argue that the willingness to fail, to try something scary knowing that you might not succeed, is one of the most courageous acts there is. It's easy to play it safe, to stick with what you know you're good at. But the people who change the world, who live lives of passion and purpose, are those who are willing to fail spectacularly in pursuit of their dreams. So if you failed before, congratulations. You're on the right track. The only real failure is giving up, deciding that your fears are too big to overcome. As long as you keep getting back up, keep trying, keep pushing forward, you haven't failed. You're just in the middle of a very important learning process. Let's talk for a moment about the role of mindset in all of this. Your beliefs about fear and about yourself have a profound impact on how you respond to challenging situations. If you believe that fear is bad, that it's a sign of weakness, you'll naturally try to avoid it. But if you believe that fear is a normal, even helpful part of growth, you'll be much more likely to lean into it. Similarly, if you believe that your abilities are fixed, that you're either naturally brave or naturally timid, you'll be less likely to push yourself. But if you cultivate a growth mindset, the belief that you can develop and improve your qualities through effort and experience, you'll see every scary situation as an opportunity to become more courageous. So how do you develop this growth mindset? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your self-talk. When you're faced with a scary situation, what do you tell yourself? If you catch yourself thinking things like, I can't do this, or I'm not brave enough, gently challenge those thoughts. Replace them with more empowering ones like, this is a chance for me to grow, or I can learn to handle. Remember, your mind believes what you tell it. So feed it thoughts that support your growth, that remind you of your capacity to learn and evolve. This isn't about positive thinking in a vacuum. It's about creating a mental environment that supports you in taking courageous action. Another powerful tool for using fear as a catalyst is visualization. Your mind doesn't always distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. So take some time each day to visualize yourself facing your fears with confidence. See yourself taking action despite feeling scared. Imagine how it feels to come out on the other side stronger and more capable than before. This kind of mental rehearsal serves two purposes. First, it helps you feel more prepared when you actually face the scary situation. Second, it reinforces the belief that you are capable of handling challenges. The more you see yourself succeeding in your mind's eye, the more confident you'll feel in real-life situations. Now let's address another important aspect of using fear as a catalyst: self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on ourselves, and when we feel scared, we might call ourselves weak or cowardly. But this kind of self-criticism is counterproductive. It makes us less likely to take risks and more likely to give up when things get tough. Instead, practice treating yourself with kindness and understanding when you feel afraid. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a good friend who is facing a challenge. Acknowledge that what you're doing is difficult and remind yourself that it's okay to. This self-compassion doesn't make you soft. It gives you the emotional resilience to keep pushing forward even when things are hard. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act despite fear. So give yourself credit for every brave step you take, no matter how small it might seem. Celebrate your efforts, not just your outcomes. This positive reinforcement will help you build momentum and make facing your fears a more rewarding experience. As you continue on this journey of using fear as a catalyst, you'll likely encounter setbacks. There will be times when the fear feels overwhelming, when you're tempted to retreat to your comfort zone. This is normal and natural. Growth isn't a straight line. It's a series of advances and retreats, of pushing forward and sometimes pulling back to regroup. The key is to not let these temporary setbacks derail you completely. If you find yourself avoiding a particular fear, don't beat yourself up about it. Instead, get curious. Ask yourself what's really holding you back. Often, when we dig deeper, we find that our surface fears are protecting some deeper, more vulnerable part of ourselves. For example, you might think you're afraid of public speaking, but when you really examine it, you realize you're actually afraid of being judged or rejected. This kind of self-awareness is incredibly valuable. It allows you to address the root cause of your fear rather than just the symptoms. Once you've identified the deeper fear, you can start to work with it more effectively. You might need to do some inner work, like challenging limiting beliefs or healing old wounds. This is where practices like meditation, journaling, or working with a therapist can be incredibly helpful. Remember, personal growth isn't just about what you do externally. It's also about how you evolve internally. As you become more comfortable using fear as a catalyst, you'll start to notice changes in other areas of your life. You'll become more resilient in the face of challenges. You'll be more willing to try new things. You'll recover more quickly from setbacks. These are all signs that you're developing a more empowered relationship with fear. But perhaps the most significant change you'll notice is in your sense of self. Each time you face a fear, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I am capable. I can handle challenges. I am stronger than I thought. Over time, these experiences accumulate, building a deep well of self-confidence that no external circumstance can shake. This doesn't mean you'll never feel scared again. In fact, if you're living a life of growth and purpose, you'll probably feel scared quite often. But you'll start to welcome that feeling, recognizing it as a sign that you're on the right track, that you're pushing yourself to new heights. Now, let's talk about how this approach to fear can impact your relationships and your ability to make a difference in the world. When you learn to use fear as a catalyst for your own growth, you become an inspiration to others. People are drawn to those who are willing to be vulnerable, to take risks, to put themselves out there in service of growth and positive change. You'll find that your relationships become deeper and more authentic. When you're no longer held back by fear, you're able to show up more fully in your interactions with others. You're more willing to express your true thoughts and feelings, to ask for what you need, to offer support without worrying about whether you're doing it perfectly. Moreover, as you become more comfortable with discomfort, you'll be better equipped to have difficult but necessary conversations. You'll be able to address conflicts more directly, to speak up against injustice, to offer feedback that might be hard to hear, but that ultimately leads to growth. These are the kinds of interactions that strengthen relationships and create positive change in communities. On a broader scale, your willingness to face fears can inspire others to do the same. Think about the people you admire most. Chances are they're individuals who have been willing to take risks, to speak up when it wasn't easy, to push for change even when it seemed impossible. By cultivating your own courage, you're contributing to a culture that values growth, authenticity, and positive action. This ripple effect is one of the most beautiful aspects of personal growth. As you work on yourself, as you learn to use fear as a catalyst rather than a barrier, you're not just improving your own life, you're creating space for others to do this. You're showing that it's possible to live with courage, to pursue your dreams despite uncertainty, to keep growing even when it's scary. Now I want to circle back to something I mentioned earlier. The idea that fear is energy. This is a crucial concept to internalize if you want to truly harness the power of fear as a catalyst. When you feel scared, your body is mobilizing resources to help you meet a challenge. Your senses become sharper, your reflexes quicker, your mind more focused. The problem is that we often misinterpret these physical sensations as a sign that something is wrong, that we should back away. But what if you could learn to welcome this energy, to see it as your body's way of rising to the occasion? What if, instead of trying to calm down and you feel scared, you said to yourself, "Great, I'm energized and ready to take on this challenge." This shift in perspective can be game-changing. It turns fear from something to be avoided into a valuable resource that you can tap into whenever you need an extra boost of energy or focus. Athletes often talk about using pre-game nerves to enhance their performance. Public speakers might use that flutter of anxiety to add passion and urgency to their words. Artists might channel their fear of failure into a burst of creative energy. The key is to stop fighting the fear and start working with it. Notice how it feels in your body. Does your heart beat faster? Do your palms get sweaty? Does your breathing quicken? Instead of trying to make these sensations go away, experiment with using them. Let the increased heart rate energize you. Let the quickened breathing fuel your words. Let the heightened awareness sharpen your perceptions. This doesn't mean you'll always feel comfortable. Growth often involves discomfort. But by reframing this discomfort as a sign of positive change rather than a warning of danger, you can start to welcome it, even seek it out. You might find yourself thinking, if I'm not feeling a little scared, am I really pushing myself to grow? Of course, this approach takes practice. It's not something you'll master overnight. But each time you consciously choose to lean into your fear rather than away from it, you're building a new neural pathway. You're training your brain to associate fear with opportunity rather than threat. Start small. The next time you feel those familiar butterflies in your stomach, instead of trying to make them go away, say to yourself, "This energy is here to help me." Take a deep breath and imagine spreading that energy throughout your body, letting it fuel your actions. Notice how this subtle shift in your relationship with fear changes your experience. As you get more comfortable with this approach, you can start to apply it to bigger challenges. Maybe you've always wanted to start your own business, but the fear of failure has held you back. Instead of seeing that fear as a stop sign, recognize it as a signal that you're on the brink of significant growth. Let it energize your planning, fuel your creativity, drive you to learn everything you can about entrepreneurship. Or perhaps you've been hesitant to pursue a romantic relationship because you're afraid of getting hurt. Rather than letting that fear keep you isolated, use it as motivation to work on your communication skills, to explore your own patterns in relationships, to cultivate self-love and resilience. The energy of that fear can become the fuel for profound personal growth. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate fear. A life without fear would be a life without growth, without the exhilaration of pushing beyond your perceived limits. Instead, the aim is to develop a new relationship with fear, to see it as a natural and even helpful part of the human experience. This perspective can be particularly powerful when it comes to pursuing your dreams and living a life of purpose. Often, the things that scare us most are the very things that have the potential to bring the greatest fulfillment. That big dream that makes your heart race. That's your intuition telling you that there's something important there for you. Think about the people throughout history who have made a significant impact on the world. They all faced fear. Martin Luther King Jr. was afraid as he fought for civil rights. Marie Curie was scared as she conducted groundbreaking and dangerous experiments. Every entrepreneur who has ever started a company has felt the fear of failure. But they didn't let that fear stop them. Instead, they used it as a catalyst, allowing it to sharpen their focus and strengthen their resolve. You have that same capacity within you. Your fears are not weaknesses to be overcome. They're signposts pointing you toward your greatest potential for growth and impact. When you feel afraid, it's an invitation to ask yourself, what's on the other side of this fear? What might be possible if I lean into this rather? This approach to fear can revolutionize how you set and pursue goals. Instead of setting goals that feel safe and comfortable, start setting goals that scare you a lot. If a goal doesn't bring up some fear or uncertainty, it might not be big enough to truly inspire your growth. When you set these bigger, scarier goals, you're not just aiming for a specific outcome. You're committing to a process of growth and self-discovery. You're saying, I'm willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to face my fears. I'm willing to fail and learn and try again. This mindset is far more powerful than any specific achievement. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about using fear as a catalyst, the fear of success. This might sound counterintuitive. After all, isn't success what we're aiming for? But for many people, the prospect of achieving their dreams can be just as frightening as the possibility of failure. Why? Because success often means change. It might mean stepping into a new role, taking on more responsibility, becoming more visible. It might mean outgrowing certain relationships or leaving behind an identity you've grown comfortable with. All of this can be scary. But here's the thing. This fear of success is just another form of energy that you can use as a catalyst. If you find yourself hesitating as you get close to achieving a goal, recognize that this fear is a sign that you're on the brink of significant growth. It's your old self making space for a new, more evolved version of you to emerge. With fear of success, lean into it. Ask yourself, what's really scaring me here? What beliefs about myself or the world am I being invited to challenge? Often, you'll find that the fear of success is rooted in limiting beliefs about what you deserve or what you're capable of. By facing these fears, you have the opportunity to rewrite these beliefs and step more fully into your potential. Another powerful way to use fear as a catalyst is to connect with your deeper values and sense of purpose. When you're clear about what really matters to you, about the impact you want to have in the world, it becomes easier to face your fears. You'll all become stronger than your fear. Take some time to reflect on your values. What do you stand for? What kind of world do you want to create? What legacy do you want to leave? When you connect with these deeper motivations, you'll find a wellspring of courage that can help you push through fear. For example, if one of your core values is education, and you have a fear of public speaking, you might find the courage to face that fear by focusing on how your message could inspire and empower students. The fear doesn't disappear, but it becomes less important in the face of your bigger mission. This connection to purpose can be a powerful antidote to the kind of fear that leads to procrastination or giving up. When you're tempted to avoid a scary task, remind yourself of why it matters. Connect with the impact you want to have. Let that sense of purpose energize you and push you forward. Now let's talk about how to sustain this approach to fear over the long term. Using fear as a catalyst isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice. And like any practice, it requires consistent effort and a supportive environment. One key to sustaining this practice is to regularly step back and acknowledge your progress. It's easy to focus on how far you still have to go, on the fears you haven't yet conquered. But take time to recognize how far you've come. Look back at the fears you faced, the growth you've experienced. Celebrate your courage, no matter how small the steps might seem. Another important aspect is to surround yourself with people who support your growth. Seek out friends, mentors, or communities who understand this approach to fear, who will encourage you to push your boundaries and who will celebrate your courage. Sometimes the people closest to us can unintentionally hold us back because they're afraid to see us change. It's okay to lovingly create some distance if you need to, and to seek out relationships that nourish your growth. Developing a regular practice of reflection can also be incredibly helpful. This might be through journaling, meditation, or regular conversations with a trusted friend or coach. The goal is to create space to check in with yourself, to notice your fears, to reconnect with your purpose, and to plan your next courageous steps. Remember, using fear as a catalyst is not about being fearless. It's about feeling the fear and choosing to move forward anyway. It's about recognizing that the presence of fear often means you're on the right track, that you're pushing yourself to grow. As you continue on this journey, you'll likely find that your relationship with fear becomes more nuanced. You'll get better at distinguishing between the kind of fear that's signaling a genuine threat and the kind that's pointing toward growth. You'll develop a sort of inner compass that helps you navigate uncertainty with more confidence. You might also notice that the things that once terrified you now barely register as scary. This is a sign of growth, an indication that you're expanding your comfort zone. When this happens, it's a cue to seek out new challenges. Remember, growth is an ongoing process. There's always a new fear to face, a new limit to push. One of the beautiful things about this approach to fear is that it can bring a sense of adventure and excitement to everyday life. When you're no longer trying to avoid fear, but instead seeing it as a signal of opportunity, the world becomes full of possibilities for growth and discovery. Every interaction, every challenge, every setback becomes a chance to learn and evolve. This doesn't mean you'll always feel comfortable or confident. There will still be times when fear feels overwhelming, when you're tempted to retreat to safety. And that's okay. Remember, courage isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about how you respond to that fear. Sometimes taking a step back to regroup is the courageous choice. The key is to not let temporary retreats become permanent ones. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. Think about something you've been avoiding because of fear. It might be a conversation you've been putting off, a project you've been hesitant to start, or a change you've been scared to make. Now, I want you to commit to taking one small step toward facing that fear. Remember, it doesn't have to be a big leap. Maybe it's just telling someone about your intention, or spending 5 minutes researching the thing that scares you, or simply allowing yourself to vividly imagine taking action. Whatever it is, choose something that stretches you slightly beyond your comfort zone. As you take this step, pay attention to how you feel. Notice the fear, but also notice the excitement, the sense of aliveness that comes from pushing your boundaries. This is the energy of growth, the feeling of expanding into a newer, braver version of yourself. Here's the most important part. Regardless of the outcome, celebrate your courage. The win isn't in the result. It's in the willingness to try, to feel the fear, and take action anyway. Each time you do this, you're strengthening your courage muscle, building your capacity to use fear as a catalyst for growth. As we wrap up, I want to remind you of something crucial. You are stronger than you think. Within you is a wellspring of courage waiting to be tapped. Every fear you face, every challenge you overcome, is proof of this inner strength. You have the power to transform your relationship with fear, to use it as a force for positive change in your life and in the world. So, my friends, I encourage you to embrace your fears, see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Let them guide you toward growth, push you to evolve, inspire you to live with purpose and passion. Remember, on the other side of fear lies everything you've ever wanted: greater love, deeper fulfillment, more meaningful impact. You have within you everything you need to face your fears and create the life you dream of. Trust in your capacity to grow, to learn, to evolve. Believe in the power of and know that every time you choose to move forward despite your fear, you're not just changing your own life, you're contributing to a braver, more authentic world. So go forth with courage, my friends. Embrace the energy of fear and let it catapult you toward your highest potential. The world is waiting for the unique gifts that only you can bring. And remember, every step you take in the face of fear is a victory, a testament to the indomitable human spirit that resides within each of us. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of fear as a catalyst. May you move forward with courage, with purpose, and with the knowledge that your fears are not your enemies, but your allies on the path to growth and self-realization. The journey ahead may not always be easy, but I promise you, it will be worth it. Here's to your continued growth, to your courage, and to the amazing life that awaits you on the other side of fear.